Hi class, Mrs. Lowe here again. As promised, I'm going to do a second problem from lesson 2. This is on page 7, where we're going to go from standard form to slope-intercept form. Standard to slope-intercept form. And you might do this because you want to graph it, and it's harder to graph because the intercepts are not integers, so you decided maybe you want to write it in slope-intercept form so that it's easier to graph. But you can go either way. And you have to be able to change them from both slope-intercept form to standard and vice versa. So our goal here is to get the equation in the form y equals mx plus b. So people get confused when you say solve for y because they think you have to actually get a number for y. And that's not necessarily true. Solving for y means that y is on one side of the equal sign and everything else is on the right side. Technically, when you solve for y, you have y equal to an expression. It doesn't necessarily have to be a number. So we're going to basically solve for y. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to move the constant in the x term to the other side of the equal sign. And I'm going to do that by subtracting them in this case because the 3x is negative. So I have 5y on the left-hand side equals negative 3x. And I move the positive 8 to the right-hand side and that becomes negative. Pretty easy. Now I need to get rid of the coefficient in front of the y, and I do that by dividing because 5 times y, the inverse operation is division. And I need to make sure I do that to all 3 of the terms. To keep an equation in balance, what you do to one side you must do to all sides and all terms. So 5 divided by 5 is 1. Negative 3 over 5, well I could leave that, make it into a decimal, but remember slope is best formed or served when it's in a fraction because you know the rise over the run and we know it's got negative slope. Negative 8 divided by 5, again I could also change that to a decimal, but I need to be consistent, and if I have slope in fraction form, the y-intercept is in fraction form. So this is the equation in y equals mx plus b. The slope is negative 3/5 and the y-intercept is negative 8/5. If I was to graph this, this is not the best. I probably will not use the y-intercept and the slope. I would try to find another point because the y-intercept is not an integer. And if you're going to graph, you need to graph accurately, so a table of values would definitely be necessary here. But the process here is going from standard form to y equals mx plus b form. Okay, hope that helps. The next lesson will be on solving a system of equations by graphing.